We're looking at the state of the nation in terms of the plan, what it is, and what versus what Kenyans actually want. And now joining us is a party leader of DAP Kenya, Eugene Wamalwa. He joins us in the hot seat this morning. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks.
I was just telling you, just before we came to this, that we often wonder, when you're asleep, we turn around and then you're on our screens, or you're on a rooftop of something somewhere.
Yes.
It's busy times already.
It is, and it's going to get busier as we approach the elections.
Okay, well, let's see. There's some questions that we have for you. Let's see what Kenyans are thinking versus what answers you have. But before we do that, Dennis wants to take you to West Africa.
Yeah, we are in Liberia. And when we talk about Liberia, let's just look at its history. Yeah, so it endured two brutal civil wars, 1989 to 1996, and the 1999 to 2003, which left the country devastated. But a little bit later, since 2003, it has enjoyed relative peace with significant rebuilding of its economy and institutions. Ebola as well hit the country really bad, but they continue to come up and push the country's economy. But the proverb today from Liberia: no matter how long the dry season lasts, the rain will come again.
Yes.
How would you interpret that?
I think the Swahili have a similar one that says, hakuna marefu yasiyo na ncha. Yes, it all pass, no matter what.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well put, proverb for a proverb.
Proverb for a proverb,
Yeah.
but I guess it kind of explains itself, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right. Well, so let's look into things, shall we? Like we said, you would imagine that, in just a few weeks, there would be an election that's taking place. But that's not the case. We still have about a year and a half to go to the thing. But it would appear as though things are already shaping. You were in church in Mwe yesterday, and you said something that was really interesting, and my mind stayed on that for a minute. And let's use that as the first question as we get into this. And you said that we've come together to essentially remove an administration. And right now, we don't know who the leader is, because all of us who are there deserve that seat. You said all of us who are there leading in our different capacities deserve that seat, but we've come together. We don't know right now who the person is going to be that's going to stand for us. But one thing we do know is that we cannot allow this current administration to continue. So we know that we're going to unseat it. We just don't know who is going to be the leader, despite the fact that all of us deserve it. You believe that, what you said yesterday?
Yes, I do. And I think I put it very simply that we do not know who amongst us is going to be the sixth president, because one of us is going to be. But we do know who must never be president again. And that man comes from Sugoi.
Okay.
And it's not because we hate him, it's because of what he has done in the last 3 years. And you look at the levels of corruption, you look at the overtaxation, you look at everything that's going on in the country, the auctioning of the country and all that. If we allowed him to get a second term, as people are saying 2 term, we are saying 1 term, because there'll be no country left if we were to go at this rate. And one thing that we all agree on is that when you look at the lineup in the opposition, each one of us is qualified to be president. We have 2 former number 2 in command. The 10th vice president, Kalonzo Musyoka, who's a Wiper leader. Just the other day, he was given the presidential ticket by his party, the Wiper Patriotic Front. We have Rigathi Gachagua, who was the 2nd deputy president, and the leader of the DCP. It was just a heartbeat away until the impeachment. You have Martha Karua, the leader of PLP. This was the 2nd leader in our team to be cleared by her party, PLP. The other day, we had Fungamano. And you have yours truly as the leader of DAP Kenya, was the first to be cleared by my party. And we expect that very soon Rigiji will be cleared. Fred Matiang'i is yet to be cleared, either by Jubilee or UPA. We do not know which party he'll run on. Each one of us, we have a public record, having served in the last administration. Some of us served in the previous administration of Mwai Kibaki. In senior positions, we are qualified, we have our public records. But we can't all be president at the same time.
Okay.
So we will agree, but what we have also assured Kenyans is that we will remain united. We know there are attempts to actually divide us. There are attempts, and you can see the president working very, very hard to poach from the opposition. to poach and, feather his nest with serious leaders who will enable him get a second term. Well, Eugene Wamalwa is not going to be one of them.
Well, let's
Even
see.
if he was to buy everybody else in Western Kenya, I will be the last man standing. And DAP Kenya will be the last party standing.
It's very possible, but from the events that we saw over the last couple of days, it was to the eye of many that even that move would have been unprecedented. But yet it happened. But we'll come into that in just a little bit.
The one of Gideon?
Absolutely.
We're equally surprised.
Everybody surprised?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll get into that in just a little bit because it's something that forms the basis then for further conversation. But I want to go to the other side where at Starehe Boys Center yesterday, the president said, and I quote, "Ignore the planless opposition." And then he went on to say that, this opposition which you mentioned, Kalonzo, Wamalwa, Karua, Matiang'i, Gachagua, don't have a plan. These are folks who want to come into government, taste the waters just a little bit, and they don't have a plan. And number two, he went on to talk about how he's been in talks with Uhuru Kenyatta and how he continues to be in talks with Raila Odinga, and they're forming, or rather strengthening, this broad-based government. They've done this also with the inclusion of Gideon Moi. Are you planless?
I think he's the one who's planless, and not just planless, he's totally rudderless. He came up with a bottom-up plan. Better, bottom-up economic transformation agenda. If I was to ask any one of you, is your life better than it was 3 years ago? Every Kenyan will tell you today that their lives are not better, their lives are bitter. Anyone with a pay slip who had more disposable income when Uhuru was president, and I was in that ministry that I served in different capacities. Many, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a nurse, whether you're a police officer, there's a gaping hole in your payslip that was not there 3 years ago. It's now called SHA. It is now called a housing levy. You're paying for a house that you'll never get, but you'll pay for it upende usipende. You're being told public land has been given. You are being taxed. This is taxpayers' money. And these houses are now being used as bribes to, bribe the teachers. 20% will be given to you. Police officers, 10%. Our lives are much better than they were. So is the plan working? No. The bottom-up economic transformation plan is not working. So he's the one who is planless. For us today, if you ask any Kenyan, they know what needs to be done. The Gen Z said it on 25th of June last year. And what they said is really in the Constitution. Article 10, when they are asking for accountability, it's part of our national values under Article 10. When they're asking for integrity, it's there. When they're asking for an end to corruption, good governance, these are things Gen Z has asked. And all we need to do is have a plan to reset and restore this country back to the path of the rule of law and constitutionalism, back to the path of accountability and having leadership of integrity. So for us, our plan is, first of all, how do we stop this? And it starts with ending corruption, and that must start at the top, from State House. It's a crime scene. Before William Ruto went into State House, he was called the high priest of corruption. Now, this State House, where he is now, is really the epicenter of corruption. All the deals, everything that's going on. So our number one plan is that if we are to stop corruption, we must end this presidency. And to do so, it will mean that we do not have to overtax Kenyans. Because when you look at what is going towards corruption, really, it's almost a third of our budget. If you are to just take care of that and seal the loopholes of the wastage we are seeing in this government, you will not need to overtax Kenyans. And that's why we're saying our number one plan, once we have this corrupt regime out, we will now need to look at policy reversals. And we are not going to learn on the job. We are with Kibaki, served in his cabinet when he came up with good policies like free primary education. Creating a more equal Kenya starts with enabling every child to realize their God-given potential. That can only work through opportunities from education to jobs. That is lacking here. So we have good policies we had with Uhuru, like Linda Mama. It matters not whether you're a wife of a border or a teacher or a police officer. If you are going to give back, to bring life to this great nation, you must do so in a dignified way. And this we had create a more equal country where mothers would give birth without being charged. This guy comes in, removes Linda Mama, comes up with something called Sha, She, Shu. That's not working. I was in Kakamega last week, and we had a 100-year-old hospital called St. Mary's Mumias. It was there from the colonial days. It never collapsed. During the Jomo Kenyatta, the 24 years of Moi, 10 years of Kibaki, 10 years of Uhuru, it never. The day William Ruto took over and came up with this Shashe thing of his, 100-year hospital collapsed because of this new system. So what we are saying is that, number one, agenda, remove this guy, reverse these policies, and we have all agreed, if Eugene Wamalwa becomes the 6th president, the number one executive order will be reversing, scrapping this housing levy. It is really the most corrupt scheme we've ever had. We will also want to scrap this housing levy. Apart from housing levy, these are policy reversals that we have all agreed on, whether it is Gachagua or Kalonzo or Wamalwa or Karua. So we know what needs to be done. We do not need to learn on the job. We have been in 2 administrations, and we know what it takes.
But Eugene,
yes.
There is the question of you served in previous administration.
Yes.
Today, Kenyans are asking, what is it that Wamalwa has done? Because let's take, for example, the Jubilee administration where you served.
Yes.
And Kenyans today say, part of the problem as to why we are here today is because of policies that were made by Jubilee administration, which you are party to.
Yes.
And even today, as we talk about William Ruto should go home one term, that is a phrase. But Kenyans are saying united opposition as well is not the solution. How do you shake up that ideology that you are part of the problem and that you are here to offer the solution?
I think it starts with convincing Kenyans. I think it was Madison who once said that if we're a nation of angels, we don't need a government. But we are not angels. Do not expect angels to fall like manna from heaven, to just drop from nowhere and come and change this country. No, it will take Kenyans, leaders who have been here, leaders who have been born here, and who are ready to lead. What it will take is having that yardstick that I was talking about in terms of Article 10 of our Constitution. So that we have leaders of integrity, we have leaders who are patriotic, we have leaders who not put their personal interests, commercial interests, over the national interests, as the way we are seeing in this transactional government. And this is what is going to be the taste. So it's not whether we have a new person coming in that is, untested and therefore is likely to be a good leader. It is even better that you have a leader who has been there. What must be done is to put all our public records to the highest levels of scrutiny. You, Wamalwa, you served as Minister for Justice. What did you achieve? Did you have any scandal with that ministry? If there's even an iota of a scandal involved in one of the ministries I served, then do not give me that chance. Because if as minister and given the opportunity to serve the public, I used that to satisfy my personal greed, then if you allow me into State House, if I was stealing with one hand, I'll steal with both hands, because there'll be no one above me. And that is what is happening. That is a mistake we made. And Kibaki once said that, leadership is not an opportunity to satisfy personal greed, but it is really to serve.
But it seems like it is now.
No, it is. And that's why I'm saying any leader that is offering to lead this country, the public must, with a tooth comb, go through your record. And if there are scandals and there are issues of integrity, for God's sake, do not allow me near State House.
Then how do you describe an alliance where you and your what I would call the other party leaders coming together? You have individuals then within that space who have scandals. Some of them have actually had court cases. But yet there is something that unifies all of you together, and it's the slogan one term. And you're saying, okay, the agenda then is to get this person out of power, and then amongst yourselves, appoint one who then will lead the entire group, because like you said, all of you can't be president.
Yes.
How do you reconcile those?
That is now what we're saying, that the public must subject us to the highest levels of scrutiny. including our public records, to see who qualifies. And for me, I believe integrity should be on the ballot. If we want to change this country, we continue electing corrupt leaders. Like the current president, if you look at his record, the number of scandals. When you look at his record, he already had a case to do with pipeline. He tried to grab pipeline land and sell it. Now, if you look at that record and you still allowed him into State House, now he wants to sell the entire pipeline. He wants to sell the entire refinery. And when you look at the transactions going around the pipeline, they're very opaque. Then you hear of some Nigerians who are actually related to some of these powerful people who have interests in the refinery and now the entire pipeline. So the minute you allow someone with those integrity issues who got away, and not just about the pipeline, processional way itself. You know, the road from State House to the Serena Hotel. Mwai Kibaki, when he became president, he called his minister. He said, now you are a minister in my government. Can you return the title deed for this land? You know, that whole land between State House and Serena was a plot in this guy's name.
In whose name?
William Ruto.
Really?
And Kibaki demanded. That title deed was returned. Someone who can grab until the way to State House itself, given a chance. Look at what he's doing. He started by trying to sell JKIA. We went to court. As DAP Kenya, we're in court with Wiper. We're in court with Tony Gashok and other people. That is how he dropped the JKIA deal to Adani. Ketraco, our power lines were gone. Now, SHA, our health system, all these were 3 Adani deals that were going to be controlled by some private individuals. You are talking of our airlines, our airports, our power lines, our health system, all in the hands of individuals. And these are not very reputable individuals. When you look at the Adani record, I mean, there's a very dubious international record. This is a guy who was chased in Bangladesh. He had problems in Sri Lanka, even in India itself. In the United States, this guy was a convicted felon. Then you come here and you're telling Kenyans. The president himself defends, no, Adani is okay. Prime Minister Raila Odinga came in and said, no, Adani is not a very bad guy. Even the other day, he was still talking about, but we are saying no. If we are going to allow our family jewels to be auctioned, we are not just talking about profits. We're talking about our sovereignty. We are talking about our national security.
Okay, so
Yes.
Eugene, if that's the case, if I may, I mean, you've painted the picture with broad and, smaller strokes. We see,
Yes.
and many Kenyans can see with what you said. But in order to uncanvas this, that's when you bring in a new leadership, or you bring in, whether it's a new administration with the same leaders that you've seen before, whatever the case may be, but there must be a plan.
Yes.
What would you do? Let's assume that one out of these 5 individuals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes, one out of these 5 individuals is going to be given an opportunity to lead the country, and then most probably will, put others in positions of leadership and responsibility and accountability. What would you do? And let me give you 3 areas. What would you do? Look at the state of the economy today.
Yes.
It's 12 trillion shillings in debt.
Yes.
And with the likelihood of borrowing more in the short term and also more in the long term. 70% of revenue goes towards debt financing.
Yes.
And so there's only 30% which goes towards recurrent expenditure, it goes towards development, and every other thing that needs to be funded. That's not nearly enough. Let's look at an education sector which right now is on its knees. It's on its knees. Whether we're talking about infrastructure for schools at whatever level, from ECD to primary to junior secondary to senior secondary to tertiary. On its knees. Whether we're looking at funding for education, whether we're looking at infrastructure, whether we're looking at value and quality assurance across board, because we're not training our teachers, we're not paying them nearly enough to then essentially have them teach properly. And then we look at health, like you've mentioned. Not possible for everybody who goes into a healthcare facility today to get everything that they need and it be taken care of. Those are just 3 examples. We've not even gotten to road infrastructure. We've not gotten into, supply of water and amenities. We've not even gone into corruption. how would you do it? Because we can paint a picture of how bad it looks, but how are you going to recanvas the thing to make it look better?
I think the first thing you need to look at is that it's not cast in stone. These are policies that were changed. When you look at some of the policies that William Ruto changed, they are reversible. As the new administration, the number one thing will be to look at the policies that he tried to change that are not working. Some of them you can see he's made a U-turn on them. Some of the things like issues of youth empowerment, we're trying to put some money in the pocket of these young people. We had this Kazi Mitaani thing. He came and scrapped it. He said, wait, we'll be planting millions of trees. Put that on hold. I will be taking care of this. So, for 2 years, a program that was putting 2 billion shillings in the pockets of young people across the country, in different parts of the country, was stopped. Then after 2 years, he comes and says, okay, I've come back now. We are going back to that program, but we are going to call it Climate Wax Mitaani. It was the same thing. But one thing we didn't ask is that, okay, those 2 years, the 2 billion for the children, where did that money go? And we're saying, those U-turns have been made on a few other things, Linda Mama and other things in the health sector. We had a package for the educare for our kids, so that when your child is unwell at school, they're taken care of. So now the kids are exposed, parents are being called. These are things, policy changes made across sectors, from health. We had NHIF that was working. It had challenges, it had some loopholes. But as we speak, we had experts who had already told us what needed to be done in terms of improving, sealing the loopholes. And this would have been done at a lesser cost than the 104 billion new system that these fellows brought in.
But what would you actually do?
That's not working.
What would you actually do, Eugene?
What would
you actually do that would reverse these things?
I'm saying these are just policy reversals. When we come in, number one, executive order we are saying, we scrap this Shah thing. We have experts who are telling us this could have been done at a lesser cost. NHIF could have been fixed. We can reverse this system, go back to NHIF
Let me give you an example.
and have it fixed.
Let me give you an example,
Yes.
Eugene. Mutai Kagwe, who was the CS Health.
Yes.
When he came into office, he stood on the steps of Afia House and he said, we're going to bring down the cartels in this place.
Yes.
And then we started calling it Mafia House because of what he said.
Yes.
He said, we're going to bring down the cartels. Today, those cartels still exist.
Yes.
Now he's in a different capacity. Because the question is, if we say we're going to reverse policy decisions,
Yes.
the people who run these things are still there.
Yes.
How do we expect that the people who contributed to running a thing to the ground are the same people that you were going to put the responsibility on to bring it back? And that's my question. And I'm saying that there was a man called Jerry Rawlings in Ghana.
Yes.
And he called a town hall meeting. And there were certain chiefs there who were often involved in corruption. You know what he did? I'm sure you do.
Yes.
Those people don't exist on earth.
Yes,
anymore.
they were rounded up.
So, what needs to happen to people? Because one of the big issues that we're looking at here is corruption.
Corruption, yes.
People have stolen money. Money didn't disappear. Money didn't go missing. Money is not unexplained.
Yes.
Somebody took it. Somebody takes it. Today, people are taking it. Money that could go to sort out these things that I've talked about.
Yes.
So one would hope that the person who's coming in at least has a plan of how to stop the bleed first. Isn't that what surgeons normally do? Stop the bleed, then we go cut out the thing. What would actually be done?
What needs to be done is just changing the policy direction. I was in Oxford as Minister for Water. We had a conference of African Ministers for Water, and there's a Professor Scott, then talked to us very candidly and said, gentlemen, science without policy is still science. But policy without science and scientific research is gambling. That is how important policy is. When you look at the Mwai Kibaki administration, the policies that were put in place, they are well-researched policies. And some of the policies that we put in place with Uhuru Kenyatta, they were working for everybody. From the devolution policy that was very, very critical in trying to create a more equitable Kenya, a more inclusive Kenya. We had a country that actually had been divided. For, alongside the session paper number 10 of 1965, high potential and low potential areas, the entire northern region, the Asa region, had been looked at as a low potential area with very little being invested. But with the devolution policy that was put in place under the new constitution, and I was very happy to have served in that ministry, to have worked with a president who believed in devolution, unlike the current system. We were able to actually reach corners of this country that had not been reached. Do you know Wajir County, Mandera County, for 50 years, they had never seen a tarmac road. Just by changing policy of devolution, decentralization of resources and the power of the people to make decisions as to their priorities in their localities. Do you know that alone has changed the country? You go to northern Kenya today, you are seeing development in areas that it took one policy decision to move from a centralized system to a devolved system, to have a policy in place, and to put up 47 new county governments up and running. They have challenges, yes, from corruption and everything, but if you ask anyone in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa today, is there a difference in their life? They will tell you, we are seeing things. We used to come to Kenyatta National Hospital over 1,000 kilometers just to get a CT scan, just to get dialysis. We had to live with our relatives in Isili to be able to go to Kenyatta twice a week for that. If you have a dialysis machine in Mandera today, you have a CT scan in which you have changed lives, and it takes one policy. Today, the policy changes these fellows have made is really gambling with the lives of our children in education, the new higher education funding model that has failed. It was a policy change, shift in direction. The SHA thing in the health sector is a change in policy. All this, what I'm telling Kenyans is that they're reversible. And we're not talking about people who are going to learn on the job. We're talking about people who know what needs to be done, and we've agreed in health we must reverse this SHA. We already have a team working on a replacement system that would better the lives of Kenyans in matters of housing. What we're seeing now, and the president himself said it when he was in Addis, he told his fellow presidents, and he was a star in New York at the UN, I was able to get 500 billion Kenyans willingly, Kenyans have paid through their noses for this housing levy. And what the amount of money raised is more than the houses being built. So what is he doing? He has so much money at his disposal. This is the money now he's calling governors. Work with me, I'll build you 10 markets. I'm building 400 markets. Using the sweat of Kenyans through this housing levy to bribe governors, teachers, police officers, playing politics with the lives of the people. But we're saying we had the big four under the Uhuru administration. And one of those was really housing. But we were not taxing. We're still building affordable houses. Some of them that are being opened today by William Ruto were built by Uhuru Kenyatta without having to raid your pay slips. So there are ways that we can change people's lives just through policy changes. But what we need are not half-baked policies. You try this today, stop that today, go back to that today. That is gambling with the lives of Kenyans. And we're saying we are ready to fix it. But the number one thing we must do is stop the bleeding of this country through corruption. Over 30% is just going through that. The wastage in this government. You look at what they've been doing at State House. They're doing the Cabra this week. When we left State House, under the Uhuru administration, we're just putting in about, I think we're at about 3.9. What we are looking at now, they have tripled the budget for State House to almost 11 billion. And what we are looking at is handouts. Anyone going to State House today, you are assured of 10K. And this wastage that we are seeing, the globe-trotting on the expensive jets and all that, if you can deal with corruption, deal with the wastage, you do not have to overtax
Eugene,
Kenyans.
the question is, how will you deal with corruption? You've mentioned the way State House is now an epicenter for corruption.
Yes.
President William Ruto, you've accused him of being corrupt.
Yes.
Now, you form government, you get in there, you look at corruption in health sector, talk about education, talk about infrastructure development in the country, and you say everything is riddled with corruption.
Yes.
You get in. You've accused President at the point is former President William Ruto is corrupt. How do you deal with him?
First of all, if we put integrity on the ballot, it means State House must stop being the epicenter of corruption. It starts at the top, just like fish, it rots from the head. The minute from the head of state we have integrity there, and those visits to State House with briefcases will stop. If you are told today, oh boss, I have this deal here, can you? You are told you leave State House in handcuffs. People will stop making deals at State House.
Will you open investigations against
definitely
against
and
William Ruto at the time?
Definitely, and we let institutions work. We are not talking about witch hunting. We are talking about returning the country to the course of rule of law and accountability. That everyone doing anything, whatever office you're given, know that you'll be held accountable. Whether you are president, whether you are a minister, whether you are a PS, you will be held accountable. There are presidents who are being dragged to court years later. The French president has been sentenced to prison.
And how will
Sarkozy, for corrupt deals he made years ago. So let everyone know that the protection of the presidency is for the period you are in that office, is to protect. But the minute you are out, you'll be held accountable.
How are you dealing with corruption issues within the coalition that you're in right now? Because the coalition that you're in, there are those who've been accused of equally being corrupt. So before getting to power and forming government and dealing with corruption, how are you as Eugene Wamalwa within the united opposition dealing with corruption from within?
That is what we're saying, that whoever we will offer as our candidate, because integrity is going to be an issue, that is going to be one of the yardsticks. In the process of identifying that candidate, we must also be able to offer Kenyans a candidate that Kenyans will look and say, okay, this guy is clean. This guy has served, yes, he has a clean record. This guy is better than Kasongo, because we've never had Wamalwa with any scandal. We've looked at the Ministry of Justice, there was no scandal. He served at the Ministry of Water, there's no scandal. We've looked at devolution, he served in defense. But if there was a scandal anywhere, we should be able to say, okay, though you want to be the candidate, but look, because we'll have a team, we'll have a process of identifying that candidate. We do a SWOT analysis to look at the strengths and weaknesses of each one of us, so that we're saying we want to give this country the best.
But we do know it's not just about one person. And my question is, do you believe within your united opposition there are characters that have integrity issues, that have had scandals? Do you believe they're there?
I can't speak for them. I can speak for myself. When I offer myself, and I want to thank my party, DAP Kenya, for giving me the ticket to run.
No, Eugene, it's a very direct question.
No. I do not want to be a judge of my colleagues. We're saying it is the public that will judge.
Yes.
And we'll have a system of identifying that candidate.
Yes.
And in 2026, we will be able to unveil that candidate.
So let's assume that candidate is you, Eugene.
Yes.
Okay? And let's assume you're president.
Yes.
This is the team that you've been working with. Are you saying there won't be a time, because we've seen this happen in the past in this country, where then there is I hate to use this word, but it's been used before, shareholding. Mm-hmm. So you have principles. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about principles, is if you become president, then there will obviously will be something for Gachagua, there will be something for Kalonzo, there will be something for Martha Karua, there will be something for Mithika Linturi, there will be something for all these people.
Yes.
Correct? Mm. Are you not concerned that if then you're working together as united opposition and you're saying that, okay, you're fronting yourself, Kenyans will judge the rest, but when the moment you take over power, you still have to work with these characters that have had scandals, that have corruption issues and integrity issues. You'll still be forced to work with them, right?
Yes, but what will matter most is the head of the team.
But you'll still have to work with them.
Well, like I said, even as president,
yes,
you will not just be elected by the devout Christians and pastors, and you'll also be elected by other people.
By thieves and robbers also.
Votes will come from everywhere.
Yes,
just like the team. As the driver of the bus, there are people that you are carrying. They can't all be angels. But what will matter is who is on the steering wheel. If it's a man or woman of integrity who has a clear vision for the country, where he would want to take and steer the country in the right direction.
But you can have people in the back of the bus who are shooting people up in the back of the bus, Eugene. You can also toss them off.
Yes. And you take command of that bus. That's what, everything stands and falls on the leader of that team. If we have a leader of integrity, we will go in the right direction. But if we have an Alibaba there, then it will be the story of Alibaba and the gang of 40 thieves. This is where we are going. I think if you look at the transactional manner in which this country is being run, you look at the dealings with the RSF in the Sudan, the blood diamonds and gold from the Sudan. And here we are at the UN speaking about the security situation in the Sudan. Yet, we are the ones facilitating. We are the ones allowing guns to come through JKI and go into Sudan, where women and children are being killed. We are hosting the RSF leadership here. Nairobi has become the center of, these rebels, whether you're talking about the Congo River Alliance, the M23 from DRC. Nairobi has become the hub. This region has looked at Nairobi as the anchor state in the entire region, not just East Africa, the Horn of Africa. We have been the stabilizer of this region. What have we become lately? The destabilizer of this region. You look at Kinshasa, they are pointing fingers at Nairobi. You look at Khartoum, they're pointing fingers at Nairobi. Something has gone wrong. It's about the transactional leadership we have. So all I'm pleading with Kenyans is that whoever you choose to be the next president, let integrity be on the table.
Okay, you said earlier that you are shocked, and I want to go back to looking at what the president has said. A lot of these issues that you've raised, but one thing that he keeps insisting on is trying to build national cohesion, and he's talking to the opposition and saying, look, you have no plan, I have a plan, we have a vision, and we have a program that we want to implement, and therefore drawing in different political leaders. And you say that he's actually hunting to trying to galvanize, and you were shocked that you saw Gideon Moi join him.
Yes.
So this caught you by surprise?
Yes, totally. And we were expecting that he would be running as senator for Baringo, and a lot of people in Baringo wanted him to run. And as a united opposition, we're going to support him.
Was he working with united opposition?
No, he was in the Azimio coalition, but as you know, Azimio collapsed. As some said, Azimio ilizimia. And it's no longer there, really, after our Azimio leader crossed over to the broad-based government. And he moved. Martha Karua's PLP was the first party to exit Azimio. And DAP...
Not Kenya at the time.
And not Kenya at the time she moved. DAP Kenya, my party, was the second one to move. And I believe Wiper, up to now, have said they no longer associate with Azimio. We don't know the position of Jubilee. We had them in the NDC talking about Azimio. But as far as we are concerned, Azimio is dead as a dodo. It's no longer there. And whether Kanu was remaining in Azimio and the Jubilee, that was their own position. But having joined the broad-based government, that meant that you can't belong to two coalitions. The minute President Ruto signed an MOU, a past election pact with Raila Odinga, you remember it was March at KICC. That was the end of Azimio. They actually, by signing that MOU, signed the death certificate of Azimio. So after that, we have not known Gideon's position, because he has not been associating with us in the united opposition. He's stayed neutral. And we're hoping he would join us as a principal. And we're hoping he would win the Baringo seat and come back into active politics. But I think you better ask him what the reasons were for him to have made that decision.
What's the chatter?
I do not really understand, but many Kenyans are surprised. What we are seeing is an attempt to broaden the broad-based government. For us in the opposition, we are firmly broadening our opposition team. and strengthening and bonding and planning ahead, working on our manifesto. As I've said, most of these are policy changes. We have teams working on different sectors, from health, that is already in a mess, to education, to economy. And we're telling Kenyans it is possible to have a regime that will come and offer you tax cuts.
But yet we hear
teams that would come and say, like Kibaki did when he came in, he didn't raise taxes.
But Eugene, we keep hearing from your meetings, and over the weekend, we actually had the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, say that, speaking to the mountain and saying, look, let's not allow ourselves to be divided. And there's always this chatter that the president is trying to make inroads and trying to get some of you in the united opposition to join him. Yes. Is that what's happening?
Yes, it is happening. And
who's been approached?
And I can tell you that Kalonzo Musyoka has been a major target, and there are many stories we've had that,
why
Kalonzo has
Musyoka?
gone. Because as we speak, William Ruto is a chess master. He knows his sums are not adding up. He knows this opposition united to the end would mean a one-way ticket for him back to Sugoi. He knows it. I mean, he's also a student of the late President Moi. This was a professor of politics. You remember when the opposition came together as we have and faced him in 1992, what did he do? He just divided the opposition. He was able to beat them. 1997, again, we had my brother running, we had Raila running, we had Ngilo running, Kibaki. Again, he was able to beat a united opposition with less than 36% of the vote cast. Mm-hmm. So here is a Ruto who was in YK92, who worked with Moi, who knows the tactics of Moi, divide and rule, and he knows very well that this opposition left as it is to the end. And God forbid if they were to pick one candidate, I'll be a one-term president. That story we were being told, I had Musali saying, in Africa, it's not easy for an incumbent to be beaten. Just yesterday, you had what happened in Seychelles. It was one term. Last week in Malawi, Chakwera was sent home after one term. Why? Because, just like Ruto, he promised heaven and delivered hell. Chakwera-nomics never worked just the way Ruto-nomics is not working for Kenyans. And he was sent home one term. So in Liberia, you were talking about Liberia, George Weah. Where nomics not working, just the way Rutonomics is not working. And George Weah was sent home one term. Good luck, Jonathan, in Nigeria, in Malawi. So what happened? No one should tell you that it's not possible for a president in Africa not to lose.
So in this case, why is Kalonzo being targeted?
He's being targeted because, as we speak, Ruto's looking at the chessboard. Mm-hmm. This whole week, he's moving east. As the opposition, people are asking, why are you so much in the east? Why are you so much in the mountain? Why are you targeting Western? Because when you look at the votes of Kenya, these are the rich vote baskets of the country. And the minute you lock the mountain, this is what put Ruto off, on top of the whole part. Because almost 50% of his vote came from the rich vote mountain. When Gachagua said, let us not be divided, Gachagua led the campaigns for Ruto. He knows what he's talking about. He built the numbers for Ruto. Mm-hmm. Ruto called him one of the greatest mobilizers ever. Now, when he was mobilizing the mountain for him, he was not a tribalist. He was mobilizing for Ruto. Today, when Gachagua says he wants to mobilize the mountain for the opposition, for Wamalwa or for Kalonzo or anyone else, now he's become a tribalist. When you are going to Kabrak to make peace with your Kalenjin brother Gideon, you're not a tribalist. When you look for a young man, firebrand like Buzeki in Uasin Gishu, who has been giving you hell, a Kalenjin like you, and you bring him in the fold, you're not a tribalist. But when Wamalwa looks for other lawyers to talk and bring the Western region together, they become tribalists all of a sudden. Ruto knows the arithmetic is not adding up. There's a gap of almost 2 million votes. The opposition is likely to beat him by. The only place he can recover that after losing the mountain is Ukambani. Every day you'll hear Oscar Sudi say, Ruto is meeting Kalonzo. Cherargei will say, Kalonzo is joining us. Why? There are 2 million votes out there in Ukambani. If William Ruto got that today and Kalonzo joined him, it's game shot. We will not lie to Kenyans. it will be 2-term automatically. As we speak, there's a gap of 2 million votes that the opposition is likely to beat William Ruto with. Watch this week.
You have already
every day
calculated.
Yes,
we know that
we know the history, we know the geography and the numbers. But someone who knows that better is William Ruto. This whole week he's in Okambani, he's going to Makueni, he's going to Kitui. In fact, the National Day on 20th is going to be in Kitui. So just watch how he's going to do that. If he misses the lower eastern region, and if he loses Malava, and as we are going to beat him, I believe, and loses Western, William Ruto is a one-term president.
Doesn't the 6.3 million votes that is being targeted by the IEBC not feature in your calculations? But even then, as we talk about IEBC, I sat down with Rigathi Gachagua and asked him about the ongoing registration, especially using the new methodology, which is the IRIS.
Yes.
And he says he'll go to court, but going to court on what basis? Because IEBC says Kenyans have always complained about the register, and the new security features will ensure that the register is tamper-proof.
Yes, but whatever decision, you know the difference between this constitution and the previous one. Whatever decision you make, it must have public participation. So when you start looking at the IRIS, and we have raised these issues with IEBC as the opposition, they have not responded. There are those in civil society who have raised issues. And up to now, there's something fishy about why they're not coming up front as to why they're using that system. What we want them to know is that we live now in an era of transparency and accountability. They must be able to prepare Kenyans, do civic education, and tell Kenyans this is how we're going. This is why we're changing from fingerprints to your iris to. They are not doing it, and there's something fishy about that.
Your opposition has said that there are foreigners who are being added into the register. What evidence do you have to that matter? Because without evidence, that remains hearsay.
It is not a rumor, but it is something we're following up. If you do recall, I think it was C.S. Duale who said that refugees should be registered. There was the issue of opening up the border and lifting the vetting processes. And we've heard, I don't know if you saw this Somali woman speaking very passionately, saying unless we put up a wall on the Kenya-Somali border, their security will not be guaranteed, because we have a lot of people moving in from Somalia now. It's very, William Ruto has made it easier for them to get IDs. They're foreigners. William Ruto has made it easier for them to get passports. There's a friend who went to get a passport the other day, and the people who had flocked there, they have made it very easy. And this is also not just a concern to our national security. We are also talking about the states that these fellows will migrate to. Concerns have been raised from the US, concerns have been raised from Europe about Kenya becoming this epicenter now of these immigration influx. And we are now talking about JKIA becoming a place, a hub for, drugs flowing. Once these systems are loosened in terms of security, it doesn't just affect our national security as Kenya, it affects other countries as well. So these are serious matters. But for us, we have been very particular that the Gen Z vote is going to be the game changer. We have gone out of our way. We are working on a strategy to engage the young people to come on board. What we know is that we are facing the same opponent. We know that for the first time, young people are coming out to vote. For the first time, the Gen Zs, they're first-time voters. Mm-hmm. And if you give them that ID, you give them that vote, you know where that vote is going to go. It's not going to go to William Ruto. And this is why we are saying we must mobilize. And we're urging young Kenyans, wherever you are, don't just say one term. Don't just say William Ruto must go. Make it real by registering as a voter. And it's through the ballot that we can actually make it clear to William Ruto that though you have made more bullets than we have more ballots than you do. And through the ballot, we'll be able to prove that ballots are more powerful than bullets. It can be done, and only the young people can do it. Leave alone the Ukambani vote, the 2 million vote you're talking about. Now, the people who are going to make William Ruto one-term president and widen the gap are the Gen Zs. The country belongs to them. If William Ruto gets a second term, there'll be no country left. The rate at which things are going, unless young people come out and vote, the gap being narrow, we know that all attempts are going to be made to rig this election. But it cannot happen if the gap is wide. It will not happen.
I know that in a game of poker, you never show your hands.
Yes.
Right? And that you maintain that faith and never really know, your opponent or those watching never really know what's happening until your card's up.
That's true.
But in this case, it's kind of different, whereby the things Kenyans suffer from are the things that a new leader needs to come in and fix. So it can't be, well, wait and see. You can't play poker with Kenyans right now. That it must be, look, I'm coming, and when we talk about a plan, I think those are the things that Kenyans want to hear.
Yes.
Are you going to stop all these projects, for example, and say, let's focus on development? Are you going to make sure that money goes into education? Are you going to actually make sure that those who are corrupt, it doesn't matter if you sniffed in the direction of stealing 1 shilling, you go.
Correct.
Those are the things Kenyans want to hear. It's not just about policy shift, Eugene. It's really that we're going to get into bread and butter, brick and mortar issues. Get rid of the corrupt. Stop these projects where we don't see where money is going. Put money in education. It may sound oversimplistic, but to me that sounds about what Kenyans are hoping that folks who get into leadership tomorrow are going to do.
That's what we want to do, and that's what we're saying. There will be policy reversals in education, in health, in when you're talking about matters economy. There are decisions that were made from day one. The day the finance bill was brought, doubling VAT on fuel from 8% to 16%, that's where the rain started beating us. It was a decision made by this regime. Introducing a housing levy, all these are policy decisions that are reversible, and we are going to reverse them. And it is possible to cut taxes. This is what we are saying we are going to do. If we are able, and this we must focus on, to shut down this drain on the economy of this country through corruption and the wastage we are seeing. It can be done. It can be done, and we want to assure Kenyans it will be our number one priority. This is doable. There are policy reversals, but there's something that, to me, I don't see this as a challenge, because we can fix the economy. We can fix the broken education and health systems through good policies, and we have seasoned leaders who know what needs to be done from day one. We will be unveiling our manifesto. We will be unveiling our presidential candidate just after the by-elections in 2026. Kenyans will be able to see in detail our plan for this country. But our number one priority is to stop corruption. We must remove this corrupt president. We are not the ones saying it's corrupt. There has been a report, a global report that your Kenyans are all aware of, that rated our president number 2 in the whole world after Assad of Syria. Now that Assad is gone, he's number 1. Just this week, we had another report listing him as one of the richest presidents, not in Africa, in the world again. Now, what does this tell you? If number 1, you've been listed as corrupt, then it follows surely, the way night follows day, that you'll be the richest. How would you become the richest in 3 years after being named the most corrupt? And Kenyans are so broke, they cannot make ends meet. You have squeezed everything out of their pay slips. What we want to do is to assure Kenyans that the policy changes we have, the plan we have, will restore the dignity of the pay slip, ease the pain at the pump, because it took a policy decision to double VAT on fuel for you to be paying what you're paying. It took a policy decision for a team to fly to Dubai, to the United Arab Emirates, to do a G2G deal that they locked in and extended in December. Why is it that fuel is still expensive in Kenya? Even when crude oil prices drop globally. Do you know, because of that G2G deal that has been, there's nothing we can do.
But Eugene, again,
that can be reversed.
If you talk about G2G and decisions that were made earlier,
yes.
a key principle in United Opposition is Rigathi Gachagua, who was there when all these deals were being signed. But then again, let's talk about United Opposition and dealing with the economy. First of all, what is your view of the economy today, and what would you do to fix the economy and address odious debt in the country today?
I think we need to start by having a very candid conversation with Kenyans. We don't lie to Kenyans that Uhuru has overborrowed. When we come in, we will never borrow. I listened to Ndindi Nyoro the other day saying in the last 8 months alone, we've borrowed over $1 trillion. When you go to the 3 years, you're talking of over 3 trillion borrowed. We are over 11 trillion. And what are we talking about? Do you see where this money is going? Where we left, we were in Mount Kenya region. Many people blamed Uhuru for borrowing, but he was borrowing and was seeing what the money was doing. When Kibaki would borrow, you would see what the money was doing. You would see Thika has a super highway.
But Kenyans don't know where $1 billion went to.
No. These are issues that can be raised, and I think good people like Jimmy Wanjigi have been raising these issues, and it's their right to do so. But when you look at just like our visit in the mountain, I was very shocked. We were in Kirinyaga. You go to Kirinyaga, we were able to put up Thiba Dam. Thiba Dam was supposed to double rice production in that Mwea area so that we reduce that deficit and importation of rice. We don't have to get rice from Pakistan. We have the capacity to produce enough rice. Through irrigation, when I was Minister of Water and Irrigation, we were able to put up Thiba Dam and we completed it. I was there yesterday. All that needs to be done is for canals to be done, for water to be supplied to the farmers. People in Mwea are still crying about water today in spite of that investment. Where we left it, but is where it is today. The water is there; it's not being circulated. We traveled all the way to Sagana. The Keno Sagana, road. Where we left it, not an inch has been added, but the money is being borrowed. In fact, the same period that Ruto has been in office, he has borrowed more than Uhuru did. But can you say one thing that has been done? The Mau Mau roads were there. Nothing has moved yet. So this is what we're talking about.
But Eugene,
yes.
During when your CS irrigation, Kenya was still importing rice.
Yes, and that is why we put up Thiba Dam. And that is why we put up Bunyala irrigation scheme to be doubled through the World Bank program. We borrowed money to double rice production. And when you go on the ground, you will see the infrastructure. You see where the money went. And today, if we're just able to supply the water to the farmers, we can double the rice production in Mwea. We can double the rice production in Bunyala irrigation scheme. We have the capacity, we have the potential. What needs to be done is just leadership to ensure that this is done. But you look at the priorities of this government, they are totally bottom up, they're upside down. You are ready to spend money sending our officers to Haiti. Court orders have been given not to do that. You send officers there, you are spending billions on them. And you are not able to give enough money to the education sector. You cut down on capitation. Counties, as we speak, do you know the employees of county governments that have not been paid for 4 months? How are they living? How are these Kenyans living? And they're being told there's no money. But you look at the handouts being given at State House. You look at the briefcases of money being put in these so-called empowerment programs. You know, handouts. We have money for handouts, but we have no money for our children in our schools, for our hospitals, for our counties that are really engines of socio-economic transformation of this country. If we were to just make devolution work, put enough resources, cut down on this corruption and wastage, Kenya would be a different country. And that's the kind of leadership we want to provide. We are asking Kenyans to give us a chance.
And I just hope that, you know, the pain that Kenyans feel, or the reality of the situation, you know, we almost use these things as epitaphs now. But this is the reality of very many people. Earlier in the day, we talked about a classroom In Nairobi,
Yes.
not in a rural area somewhere. In Nairobi, the capital city, where there are 100 students in a class, and the teacher cannot step into the class, not because they don't want to, but there's no space for that teacher to maneuver. And they teach these 100 children, the children of Kenyan parents, from the window. And you want to tell me that we're passing these children through an exam system that's going to put them in the world where now they have to operate? This is one example.
Yes.
Of the horrific experiences that Kenyans are going through because we've not been able to, we're unwilling to take resources where they actually should go. And this stems from poor governance.
It's not prioritizing.
The
Actually.
hope is that anybody who comes in tomorrow will take, it is not it's not a daydream, it's reality.
Yes.
And we'll take that reality and actually do something. That's what Kenyans hope for.
And that's what we're working on. It's just a matter of removing this bottom-up system that has failed, the better plan that has failed to make our lives better, and actually putting in policies that work for all Kenyans, that will actually transform their lives. And you cannot say you have no money to put in the schools, the infrastructure, like you have said. And you have billions you want to purchase planes for the president. Do you know, as we speak, they're in the process of purchasing new jets for the president.
Not for Kenya Airways?
And no. This is... and you're talking about 70 billion. New aircrafts. They have sent our military people to go and identify them. And our children cannot get money to go to school. I think we have something. There's something wrong with this government.
There's a lot to do.
Yes.
And this
it's bottom up.
There's a lot to do, for sure.
It's real bottom up.
And there's still some time to go. But there's a lot of convincing for Kenyans to be done, but convincing on truth. I want to thank you for joining us in this conversation.
Thank you
this
very
morning.
much. Very much.
Eugene Wamalwa is the party leader of DAP Kenya. Has been here with us this morning and letting us know that, they're in the running for this and that they have plans that they hope to see succeed.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining in on this conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.